and welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to another JVS movie review. Today, we are bringing you the long-awaited prequel that we never asked for. This one is The Kingsman, which, quick backstory on why it took so long for us to get the Kingsman movie. I want to say this movie was done about 3 years ago. And then with the transition of Disney buying Fox with so many reshoots for this movie, it felt like this movie was forever delayed. But finally, we have it here. And here is a quick synopsis and the cast. One man must race against time to stop history's worst tyrants and criminal masterminds as they get together to plot a war that could wipe out millions of people and destroy humanity. And this one stars Ralph Fiennes, Gemma, Arterton. I'm never going to get this guy's name right, and I completely apologize for it. Rhys, Ifans, and Matthew Good. This is directed by Matthew Vaughn, who also is the writer-director of all the Kingsman movies, as this is completely his series. Now, first, let's start off by saying this about the Kingsman. Well, the Kingsman, because this is a prequel to show you where we get the Kingsmen from. I'll start off by saying, if you are expecting a film in any way, shape, form, or fashion that has remotely close to the tone of the first two Kingsman movies, leave that thought out your head. When I got into the theater, I was expecting that, and instead, what you kind of get is a mashup between The League of Extraordinary Gentlemen and Enemy Behind the Gates. I know that sounds weird. That's how I felt in this movie. This movie at times feels so jumbled, so pieced together that it never fully develops a tone. So you get a movie that you don't necessarily know if this is supposed to be a war movie. You don't know if this is supposed to be an action movie. You don't know if it's supposed to be a silly film. You don't know if it's supposed to be a serious drama. It is so much stuff happening in this film. So it starts off by us being introduced to Ralph Fiennes' character as he plays a pivotal part in the espionage business for the British army at the time. And then it transitions to a storyline about three cousins who all took over different sections of the world and how they are now being manipulated by this overall evil organization to start World War One. Yes, I said it. World War One, the only world war that most people, the one that most people don't remember. Unfortunately, the one that most people don't care about is World War One. But this organization attempts to create the huge conflict that will become World War One, and in turn ends up helping them take over the world. That's their goal. Here again, we were introduced to Ralph Fiennes, who at times we don't necessarily know what he is. We are introduced to his wife being killed at the beginning of the film, which kind of sets the tone of the direction that Matthew Vaughn wants to go with the movie. And then we see the development of his son, and his son feeling a need to serve his country, while Ralph Fiennes' character has pled to his dying wife that his son will never see war. Again, this is what I mean by, I don't know what type of film they were going for. That entire setup sounds like a very serious but good war drama. And instead, the film changes course and becomes this extremely over-the-top action film at times. That doesn't really make sense, to put it blunt and clear, as we get a huge time jump as the son is now as close to an adult as possible. He's being trained by Djimon Hounsou, who is his father's right-hand man. And then we have Gemma, who is the maid slash housekeeper slash surrogate mother slash deadly shot. Can do everything. Like it's just, it feels like at no point in time did they really focus on what they wanted the characters to be in the film. And instead, Matthew Vaughn tended to focus on the aesthetics of the film. This movie looks amazing. Even as jumbled as it is, the film always looks good. And I think that may have been the focal point for Matthew Vaughn for this movie, is to aesthetically shoot this time period, shoot it in amazing shots. Like, he does a great job. If you've ever seen a Matthew Vaughn film, you understand how he shoots action. Whether it's the first Kingsman, which most people absolutely love, or even the second Kingsman, which is not a good movie, one thing that correlates with both is that they are shot extremely well. And here we get those same angles. We get the focus on the action, but a wide lens focus on the action, so you see everything around the action, so it also engages you from the background, and it doesn't just focus on the main action moment. It is something that he's done with all his films that work extremely well, and here it's no different. But here, where we fail, is everything is jumbled. At no point in time does the movie make it clear what it wants to be. It is the middle section of this film feels like one of the best war dramas I've ever seen. It sets up moments that are immaculately shot and executed well. Like, it's a war scene in the middle of this film that completely takes you out of this being a Kingsman film. And you're thinking, like, that's why I compared it to Enemy at the Gates. You're thinking, like, wow, I'm really engaged in a war drama. And then it flips gears and puts you right back into a silly action movie. And then you're confused on exactly what this movie wanted to be. If I am sounding confused, it's because the movie did it to me. This movie is not clear on what it wants to be. And because it's not clear on what it wants to be, it ruins a pretty good performance from Ralph Fiennes. He tries his best to hold this thing together. And when you have an actor of his caliber in a movie like this, you're kind of expecting him to overshine everything and really help bring home, even through silly action moments, what this movie is supposed to be. Unfortunately, his talent couldn't do it. The movie is just too much of everything. It felt like it wanted to serve a purpose of establishing what the Kingsmen were, while giving you a story that you don't need, don't care about, and giving you characters that you don't care about. That's the problem with this movie. Nothing sticks out at all. And when you have a film like this, where your big bad is someone who you hide, and when the big reveal happens, the audience doesn't care, I think that's when you failed as a film. And that is the problem here. It suffers from the exact same thing we had from the Kingsman 2, where if you would have pulled back just a little, maybe we would have got the refreshing moment that we had in the first Kingsman. The reason why we are even at a prequel. Like, that movie managed to pull back when necessary and felt fresh and original. The sequel felt like a retreaded film that no one should or really cared about. And here with the Kingsman, you get a film that it just is too jumbled to be enjoyable. Yes, it has excellent action moments. As I said before, it is shot beautifully. And Ralph Fiennes does his best in this movie to give you a performance worth seeing. But everything around him makes no sense. And because it makes no sense, it throws you completely off with this film. And you're left, as I was left, wondering, what did I just watch? What was the point of this? If the point of this was to make me care about how we establish the Kingsmen, it didn't. It failed miserably. Granted, you're gonna get oblivious, like at the end of the film, of us showing what we're going to or going towards in the future. Yes, that moment happens, but the moment feels so wasted that you're left just wondering, why did you sit through this movie? So, The Kingsmen, which opens this Friday, along with a really, really big movie. Maybe that was a mistake. Out of a possible 10, I'm going to give The Kingsmen 4.5 out of 10. Again, it just doesn't know what it wants to be. And that is it's a really hard thing to pull off, especially when you're attempting to rebound off of a sequel that most people felt was too over the top and didn't necessarily know what it wanted to be. And then you come back with a prequel that does the exact same thing. I think at this point, unless we, for some odd reason, get the Kingsman made into a television series, as a group of films, this should be it. Never again do I want to explore the characters. I don't want to explore this world. Unless maybe it's in the hands of a different director. And I know that's hard to say because Matthew Vaughn started this series. He's the key driving force behind the series. But maybe it's time for fresh eyes if you want to continue making films and not reverting it to television, which you could do a nice limited series or something of that nature and make it pretty good and not give us a jumbled mess of a movie again. This has been JVS Movie Review. Peace, people.